Both players here definitely wanting to open up here and get on into it. It's going to be game 1 on Automaton. And down here in the bottom left-hand side, in the blue, representing Asterion Gaming, he is Harstem. And up here in the top right-hand side, in the red, it is Nerchio. Of course, playing for MKers there. And I wouldn't mind a greedy opening from Harstem, and he's gone gas first. So it looks like Harstem, I believe, is not going to be scouting till after his Cybercore. And I like that against Nerchio. You think about Nerchio, you don't think of a guy who's going to do a Speedling all-in. Like, how often do you see him trying to take you out off 15 or 20 workers? Almost never. So I love seeing Harstem take the greedier opening. This is also a much nicer way of getting into a Stargate build since you've got your gas mining so early. So very nice play here from Harstem. Just taking a bit of a gamble, of course, but that is simply assuming that it's not going to be a 13 gas 12 pool or any sort of super fast rush. And Nerchio, I feel like, maybe does that 1 in every 300 Zerg versus Protoss maps, so
he's always been one of these guys, actually, kind of like Stefano. We almost never saw Stefano cheat for like a super long, like people who just go like crazy greedy against him. They still would lose because he was Stefano. But yeah, he's kind of funny how there's like, you know, these Zergs, they almost like refuse to play super aggressive or throwing a gamble here and there, and then some players will adjust from that and not necessarily scout early on. You can definitely be greedier that way. So it's good, like obviously Harstem will know that these guys have met probably hundreds of times on the ladder. They are very familiar with one another, so they kind of know what to expect from the opponent. Which is also why it would be nice maybe sometimes to throw in something like this.
You know, yeah, it's something, I mean, Artosis is always saying how, like, if Stats would just do some Hass builds, he'd be unstoppable. He'd get so many free wins, right? Same thing here with someone like Nerchio. If he were to throw out, like, a proxy hatch or one of those Speedling all-ins that Scarlet's so famous for, I do feel he'd pick up a lot of free wins with it. But you know what? It's all about where you want to put your practice hours into. Nerchio, not a fan of putting his practice hours into those builds, not wanting to kind of risk a loss off a strategy which he thinks doesn't help his overall skill level. So it's just going to be coming out here. One Zergling split off to try and go across the map to scout. The other one's going home to defend. Adept coming across the maps, followed up by a Stalker and a Stargate. Now, that Stalker's going to be able to stop any Overlord sacrifices, so that allows you to go Oracle first. Probably won't be building a Phoenix at all. And I kind of wonder, on this map, Skytoss is really good. It would be really cool to see something like maybe 3 or 4 Oracles, follow that up with, you know, carrier tech potentially. It's not something we see too often, but something we might be able to see.
But do you think that Nerchio would be the guy to do this against? Because I feel like in this kind of games, he's going to be pretty good if it comes down to, you know, taking decisions in terms of what composition to go for, kind of playing a slow game. And we've seen him with Infestors. Like, there's been times where, sure, he's had some trouble against carriers when, you know, they were really strong and stuff, and he's kind of fell apart in some of these games. But I do think that if you're going to play like a really slow game against him, nowadays, I think he would be solid enough to have the upper hand, in my opinion, with the Infestors, Neural Parasite, and all that.
He is one of the OG Infestor gods from 2011, back when people didn't really think they were particularly useful in the early days of Starcraft 2. Nerchio was one of the first to be using them a lot.
How wrong were they?
Oh, yes. Yeah, him and Stefano got on that train real early, and they won many, many tournaments, and the other Zergs slowly caught on. It is, of course, a Robo follow-up, a Twilight, and a few more gateways. So this is about as vanilla as it gets for Harstem. Opening up with a Oracle into an Archon drop. It will be a Templar Archives. And the question is, does he add more gateways after that? Is it going to be a 6-gate or an 8-gate Archon charge lot pressure? Or is it just the 2 Archons and going up to things like Storm?
Ooh, actually the Oracle lost all of his shields here before being pulled back. The Sparkwater was a little bit late, but Nerchio paid a lot of attention on where the Oracle was flying. So he was ready with the 2 Queens there, very nicely done. And from there, Harstem, a lot of the time you're going to be seeing him take that 3rd base very quickly, going to more gates. And then the big question is, yeah, does he get High Templars and Archons and plays aggressive, or does he try to take into Storm immediately? And usually the perfect answer is, you would like to be able to know what the Zerg's producing, right? If they're not making units and you don't have anything to worry about, then you can rush to Storm easily. But those are almost always going to be for 2 Archons. first and foremost to be able to harass with. I don't think we had a second prism in this case.
No, Fortune and Observer. So yeah, it looks like it is going to be that very standard macro follow-up. And I guess this is where you look for that scouting info you were talking about, Todd, right? The Archon drop comes in, going to look for some damage as well. Maybe take out some creep tumors. Roaches are there. Nerchio has actually measured his defense so well in this game so far. Really not taking any damage. It looks like the Queen even going to slip out of there. A single drone going down and a little bit of mining time. Great defense for Nerchio so far. Harstem comes in, sees the 4th base is down very quickly. Now Nerchio's worker count has slowed down though. He's only at 52 workers. Harstem comes in, snags a couple more drones. Cute little stasis trap there, goes down unnoticed. He's going to freeze 3 workers.
Yeah, you know what I find very important here is the dynamic around the observer that you're going to have across the map. Do you use that to remove creeps with your Archons? Or do you set that up around, or like between the main and natural base to try and spot everything that's coming out, whether it's drones, whether it's units, and exactly what units? Because in a lot of these games, this can be truly game-changing, in my opinion, if you can spot what the opponent exactly is going for. As of right now, he must have rallied. Yeah, okay, so the observer is following the prism. He must have rallied that on top of the prism.
Yeah.
I
Using
don't feel
that
like
to
it's
help
very
clean up
useful
the creep.
in the main, though.
Yeah, he wants to slow down the creep spread, which is getting way out on the map. Nerchio playing such a heavy unit style. He's only at 65 workers, and he's only gotten up to that point quite recently here. The Archon's trying to slow down the creep spread, which is fantastic for Nerchio so far. So Nerchio, though, he's got the 4th bases up. He's got a great army count. Immortals charge. Lots of gateways on the way there for Harstem, though. Harstem still only on 4 gases. He hasn't taken the gases on his 3rd just yet. And he's going up to 4 sentries, 5 sentries in fact there. He might be going for a little push here. 2 Immortals, 2 Archons, a whole lot of force fields. But I feel like Nerchio's army is just too good against that. I don't think you want to commit as Harstem.
He has a 3rd Immortal, but that's trapped in the wall. So
really?
He definitely needs that, yeah.
Oh, that's disastrous.
Okay, he picks up on that. Gonna go and rejoin the rest of the hurry on.
Oh, Roach's caught there. He might actually be able to trap these with the force field. Nerchio, not realizing they've been spotted. He's going to try to split them up. He's actually going to get 1 sentry. No. And he's going to lose a couple of roaches, but good split there by Nerchio. Now aware that this army is moving out on the map. Storm starts up. Harstem, I think he wants to pressure here, clear some creep, maybe snipe a 4th. I don't think you want to go too deep into Nerchio's territory.
When you're going for Storm, for sure, you cannot commit. And Nerchio, like, he's one of the guys that, you know, we talked about the Infestors days, you know, Daybreak and all that. He was one of the guys that, when the Soul Train was a practically impossible to hold attack with the 3 Immortals, all the sentries and all that, he was one of the few Zergs in Europe to actually be able to defend it just through great macro and, you know, setting up the fights and all that. So you can definitely count on him to be able to squeeze out as many units as he can and get ready as well as he can against this, which is what Harstem's counting on. He wants Nerchio to be making units right now while he's going into Storm. And right now, Nerchio is realizing that Harstem has duped him. He's just taking more. He's not really going for the attack. And Nerchio has made all of these units, which, you know, over time will become worse and worse unless he does something with them.
They're low-quality units as well, Todd. You just called it out there. It's mostly Roach army. These are not good units as the game goes on. He morphs 8 Dropper Lords and throws down a Nidus Worm. Nerchio, I think it's dawning on our Zerg player here that he can't fight this army head-to-head. He doesn't have what it takes to beat the Immortal Storm, so he's going to look to catch Harstem out of position. You were talking about it in the pregame. He's one of the first players to have used drops and multi-prong positioning to catch Protoss players off guard, and it looks like he wants to do it here again. He's got those drops getting ready to go into that gigantic wide-open main base. At the same time, the Nidus, of course, can throw in a way to reinforce those units on the other side. Harstem, he needs another revelation. He has no idea about this.
And on a map like this, it's perfect for this kind of attack, too. I think he should use all of these overlords to drop in the main base and then maybe Nidus the 3rd base at the same time, because those are really far apart. It will be so hard for Harstem to defend against this. Harstem's taking the 4th base. He has no idea this is coming. He's going to have to react perfectly.
Oh, he knows it's coming.
And very quickly here. He needs to split as well as he can. All of the Immortals are going to go straight into the main base. That 4th base is going to be cancelled here. Let's see if Harstem can split well enough and storm on top of this army.
Oh, he's supply blocked right now. Workers are going down in the main base. All of those workers falling to those Zerglings. His Storm not quite ready to get up there. And a great hot pickup by Nerchio. Leaves just a few Roaches and Lings, and at the same time threatening that 3rd base.
19 probes have died in the midst of all this. So Nerchio's definitely done a lot of damage. He's still cranking out units behind this. Basically permanently maxed out right now with a lot more Roaches on the way. He's got a Nidus up.
Oh, so nice.
he could go for a Nidus somewhere to try and really... Actually, these Overlords are still tagged, but he's still going to drop in the main base. I mean, there's not much entire anyway.
So many probes went down in that attack. 21 falling for Harstem. He's just trying to rebuild here on 3 base. His unit's so caught up, he doesn't quite have Storm energy there. And his units all stuck behind each other in this mineral line. Nerchio getting a perfect arc. He's even picking up the units on the right-hand side, ferrying them into this main base. Harstem caught in a terrible position here, hemmed in by his own buildings. There was no escape path. His Archons can't get back into the main to defend. And a crushing defeat there. Nerchio utilizing that gigantic Roach Hydra force and just pulling Harstem apart.
So when we go to these events, I'm always talking to players and asking, what's going on in certain matchup and stuff. And what I've been hearing for a while is that Zerg in the late game is really good right now, doing really good supposedly against Protoss. And my answer to that was, then why do we always see the Zerg trying to end the game before that? And I feel like in the mid game they're really worried about some of the attacks that Protoss could do, and that's the big thing. If you let a Protoss like just kind of max out. And it's the same for Protoss, so that's the whole dynamic around the matchup. You can't let a Zerg drone, you can't let a Protoss stack too hard and go up to 4 or 5 bases. That's why ZVP is so much action-packed in the early to mid-game. That's really like where the game is going to be played out a lot of the time. Well, and I'm hoping that we're going to see some very late-game games. Like, those are very, very rare, but always so interesting.
Yeah, because the players have to earn their way there, right? You were saying how Harstem was kind of faking the push in that last one, and it looked good for Harstem. But his 4th base was late, He played this very calculated style, made it look like he was 3-base pushing, added Storm, and Nerchio's army, this is not the army you go to late game. People say, oh, well, why wouldn't you go to late game if Infestors and Broodlords are good? It's like, well, you've used up all your supply on Roaches. You don't have the 80 drone economy. Yeah. You don't have the melee upgrades for the Broodlords. You're stuck on Roach Hydra, and, you're going to get hit by the Protoss maxed out before you make it to Broodlords from where Nerchio was. So Nerchio made a snap call, said let's use the multi-prong, Nidus, drop, and just rally this gigantic mid-tier army across the map. But it's fascinating to see that because Harstem almost forced him into it and then was still caught off guard.
And Nerchio, he did exactly the right damage he needed to do as well, by the way. Because Harstem was starting to get to a very high number of High Templars and Immortal, to where, if this had hit, even just 30 seconds later, 1 minute later, I think Harstem actually has enough to defend on both fronts and then be totally fine and then just win from there.
Yeah, I think even positionally, he was very close to being ready. Harstem, of course, was counting on getting unsupply block. But here we go. We are going to be launching into map number 2. Up here in the top left-hand side, the Dutch Protoss player in the blue. He is Harstem. And down here in the bottom right-hand side, in the red, the Zerg player, it's Nerchio.
One of the biggest veterans in this tournament, been around forever. Initially a random player.
Oh, is Harstem going to let that hatch go down?
Yeah, Nerchio was a really good random player, and then he switched to Zerg early.
How early was that? Was that super-duper early days? Or
like Wings of Liberty. Like Shakura's Plateau times.
Like 2010 or 2011? He probably...
Yes, 2011, 2012.
Probably start of 2011 when he swapped to Zerg, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never knew that, actually. It's interesting. Surprised Nerchio didn't pick Protoss.
Yeah, it's funny, those people that, play random or play multiple races, they still always end up kind of complaining about how their race is the worst. Why did you do this to yourself? You could have picked anything.
All right, so the hatch gas pool here for Nerchio, but being forced onto the 3rd base. Harstem going to be going for that nice Nexus back at home. Of course, Gate, Nexus, yeah. This is a very small map. Cyber Forest 1, where those mid-game pushes even scarier.
Yeah. This
is not the map where I expect to see Broodlords, Infestors, Carriers, Tempest. This is a map where, more than ever, mid-game pushes are powerful, and
we're going to see a bloodbath all the time, right?
Absolutely, Often there's a free unit bloodbath, the type the Zergs love the most with swarm hosts. The thing is, if both players were to play this like it was any other map, swarm hosts are the best thing ever on this map. Because it's small, you can get across, you can throw them in. The reason we don't see it very often is a lot of Protoss are opening Robo first on this map. A lot of Protoss players are looking to be aggressive early on. They're hitting mid-game pushes, and Swarm hosts aren't very good defensively. They're a great offensive unit for going in and getting harassment damage. But if the Protoss just keeps the pressure up the entire time, it's hard for the Zerg to ever find that opening.
You know what I always found hard when I competed in a series like this is kind of getting over the first game, because I just know that he would haunt me. Because I really feel like Harstem was in a good spot, so he would just like always haunt me so much. I'd be like, what could I have done better? How should I have split? And I'd still be thinking about this right now as the second game is starting, which is really bad, because right now you only need to be thinking about that current game. The last game doesn't matter, you know, the past is the past. You need to forget about it.
It's like a special skill, being able to just reset your brain and just let that kind of fall into the back of your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why sometimes you do see players kind of calling for a quick pause or a break, or sometimes even being a little bit cheeky and saying they have a mouse issue when they're just trying to reset their mentality. Not very often that happens, but once in a while
I didn't take you for such a trickster.
Hey, not me, man. But
yeah, right.
Pretty sure some of the people I was playing against in tournaments are having
a friend told you about
a few too many breaks, you know, a few too many breaks at moments. You've got that momentum, you're like, let's go, and they're like, oh no, like my keyboard, yeah, and you're like, ooh. I don't know, this guy's keyboard somehow breaks every tournament at a tense moment. I don't know if that's real or not. But none of these players, of course, doing any of that. The Zergling pressure here, catching the Adept is always nice. The DT Shrine on the way. It's going to be the Archon drop for Harstem. This is a good build. I wonder if he'll go for the double prism.
What are the chances we see some DTs trying to hack away at some hatchery?
Yeah, I mean, Nerchio knows it's coming. He's got the perfect response to the layer timing, the Roach Warren. But I love the follow-up where they build the second Warp Prism and then hit both the third and the main at the same time.
Yeah.
Nerchio, to be honest, is such a safe player. Like, he's the guy who's happy to sit on equal workers with the Protoss, like, all game long.
Yeah.
Can we take a look he has enough units to be safe.
Nerchio's vision real quick? He's got an arc of units all around the base of Harstem right now, so there is almost no way he was going to miss that prism unless Harstem went all the way around in the corners of the map, which then would have delayed this even further. So really nice Nerchio spotting the timing on this. He's now pumping out roaches. He knows, like, you need to go up to like, what, 8, 10? I think 10 is a good number, right, to make sure that you can kill these Archons.
Yeah, some people try to like stay on like 6 roaches and pull the 2 queens, but that's very greedy. Nerchio, no doubt, a player who's very experienced against this. This was a build we saw so much in 2016 and we're seeing more and more recently. Harstem, of course, immediately morphing into Archons because he realizes how good Nerchio's scouting was. He knows there's going to be detection and roaches in position, so instead he just morphs into Archons and goes straight on into that main base.
There's only 5 roaches out right now and they're out of position. 5 more are going to come out in a second, but those are a little bit late. He's going to start on losing some drones left and right here. Can Harstem maximize the damage?
Very nice.
Gets
4 workers.
Yeah.
4 or 5 of them surviving in low hit points, though, so good saves by Nerchio as well. Good crisis management.
That could have been worse, I think, because like the 5 additional roaches were really late here. He could have gone for the dive maybe a little bit harder and just lost the shields.
Yeah, nice micro here. Of course, this works so well with the way the Archon shields replenish whenever they're out of combat. So as long as you don't lose the Archons, you can utilize this to just find non-stop little bits of pressure damage all over the place. And Zerglings do see that third base is up now. Immortals charge a Forge as well as some sentries on the way behind this. Harstem's going to dive for that Overlord. Does get it, taking a lot of Archon shield damage. But worth it to just slow Nerchio down. Now, Nerchio is actually trying to go into a Spire right now. And if he can surprise Harstem with Mutas, that's great. These hallucinations, though. If they see that Spire, I think Harstem might just push straight across this map. Yeah,
Nerchio and Bly, once upon a time, they would just go Spire every single game. They mastered the base trade style. Like, if you go for the attack, then they're just going to counter you, kill all your probes instantaneously, and then basically take out your entire economy before you can take theirs out, and then they can hide hatcheries on the map, maybe escape with some drones, maybe even fly back and fight your army if you don't have enough stalkers on your side of the map to fight against their air army. And in this case, Nerchio, it looks like he wants to try something like that here down the line, starting 5 Mutalisks right now. He spotted, like that one Overlord around the Expo, spotted the Immortals, so he knows that Harstem opened very similarly to before, but Harstem's actually going for kind of like a late Stargate here, and he made shield batteries.
Okay, he's just going to go the very defensive follow-up. With the cannon and the shield battery and a mineral line,
he spotted the Spire, I think.
Yeah, he spotted that with the hallucination before. So I think he knew that Nerchio seeing it would be crazy to go like 20 Mutalisks off this. So he's going for the very small defense. He'll probably only build 2 or 3 Phoenix, and that's just to force Nerchio to stop building Mutalisks. Otherwise, he's still got the Templar Archives on the way. He's still got a lot of Zealots adding in here. The Roaches are going to combine with this, and that is a scary force pushing forwards. But with no Ravagers in the mix, I think Harstem's going to be stable for now.
And Nerchio anticipating that there's going to be Phoenixes going for Hydralisk is great, especially if down the line he knows there's going to be less Immortals, and he goes for, you know, Lurkers, even Banelings. Here he's getting a Baneling Nest. It's going to be great to support that. I love like this part of the game, you know, where they're really trying to outdo each other with the mind games. It feels like a game of like, you know, rock, paper, scissors, Hydralisk, Baneling, Archon, Zealot, like whatever unit you make, I'll counter with something else.
A couple of probes do go down there, not a lot of damage by any means. Nerchio's work account not particularly impressive, and this is something where Nerchio starts, oh, cheeky DT. I was going to say Nerchio needs to be really efficient from here on out because he doesn't have the economy advantage, and we've talked about Immortals, about Storm, about how well these things do against Roaches and Hydralisks, and Nerchio is going to start to add a few more drones in, trying to replace the losses here. The DT decides to do a ring around the rosy rather than actually go after the drones. He's like, I can do a full lap, just watch me run.
That was the last thing he ever did.
That's a lot of cannons.
Yeah, an Infestation Pit now going down for Nerchio. What are you thinking here? Swarm Host at this stage?
Nerchio's composition's starting to look a little bit too mixed, you know. Sometimes he does play late Swarm Host. You could just go Broodlords. That's always your late game as a Zerg versus Protoss player.
Yeah.
But he's got 5 Mutas. He's got a pack of Roaches. Now he's trying to go into Hydra Bane, but then he's also moving onwards into the Infestation.
He's getting everything.
Yeah,
he's keeping all of his options open.
Lots of options open, but none committed to, right, Todd?
Yeah.
If Harstem does a big tight push here in the next few minutes, I mean, I feel like Nerchio can't fight that front on, and I think Harstem realizes that. Nerchio realizes that. He's splitting Roaches and Hydras on the south side of the map, potentially getting ready to counterattack. Harstem's already committed to a ton of cannons. He is taking a very late 4th base, though, so it almost feels like both players are a bit afraid to build up directly in one direction, and now they're kind of inching their way towards the later stages. The Hive is on the way, so I do think it is going to be that Broodlord tech for the late game. The Roach Hydra moving across this map. Not a lot of Banelings in the mix just yet. A couple of Roaches do go down. There is a good Psy Storm count. Give it another 30 seconds, and all 6 of those High Templar are going to have a second Storm on them as well. That's where there's a big power spike in the Protoss army's strength.
Yeah, I feel like Nerchio would have been a lot safer if perhaps he made Lurkers while going for Hive Tech, but Harstem, it seems like he knows there's going to be some Hive Tech. He grabs a Fleet Beacon and another Stargate, but imagine if he had just maxed out an attack. Nerchio would have had a full Tier 2 army without Lurkers.
Exactly.
I think he might just get steamrolled, but I think Nerchio might be playing that as a mind game where he thought that Harstem would just be happy to kind of... Because Harstem's done that in the past. He just sits back, take the 4th, take the 5th, go into, you know, Tempest.
He's a very slow player, isn't he, Harstem? Yeah. He likes that super late game, and sometimes he lets his opponent cut a corner like this.
And we talked about it, and now he might be able to see it. I think that's really cool.
The dream. No Infestors yet, though, so still a while to the super late game, but yeah, we could see Broodlords. We've already got the Stargates done. No Tempests on the way just yet. I think Harstem would like to get a bit more scouting. A second Spire is about to finish here.
Yeah, Mothership starts first. Very important.
Oh, these DTs doing very nicely.
Getting caught by themselves.
Yeah, Zealots not so much.
Looks like Nerchio was setting up a multi-pronged attack. He's taking down the rocks on the top right-hand side as well. Also, Banelings already gathered there.
And again, like Harstem knew this was coming, though. He's split up so many static defenses this game.
Yeah, but it feels like his army split maybe is not the best against some of these attacks, though, even in the previous game.
This time, though, it's looking way better. These Banelings kind of just crashing up against nothing right now. Archons and Immortals happy to take that. A big surround, though. The High Templar very... Oh, are they protected? Oh, yes, they are protected in the back, but there's not that many Immortals and Archons. Oh, the last few Banelings getting on those High Templar! And with that, the Storm goes down. There's no more Storm left in the back, just that one High Templar. No more Archons, no more Zealots. Nerchio cracking through with this mid-tier army.
Yeah, Nerchio just knows how to set up these engagements. In game number 1 already, the elevation of the entire army was the key. This time around sets up a full 360 surround, which is going to be too much for Harstem. Nerchio with a 2-0 solid victory here.
Yeah, very nice engagement.